How badly do you want the thing that keeps tugging at the corner of your mind while the world sleeps? That question is more than rhetoric. It is a mirror held up to your deepest convictions, a spotlight aimed at the gap between talking and doing. Every dream starts as a fragile spark, an idea whispered in the hush before dawn. But the furnace that turns that spark into a blazing fire is desire sharpened by relentless action. The person who truly wants something is not just excited when conditions are perfect. They are obsessed when conditions are hostile, determined when progress is invisible, and willing to crawl when their legs refuse to run. Desire at that temperature cannot be negotiated with. It ignores the snooze button, shrugs at the critic, and smiles at the odds, because it has already decided that the finish line is non-negotiable. When you reach that state, the universe may still throw storms in your path, but the question, how bad do you want it, will keep you walking straight through the thunder. Wanting is easy, yearning is effortless, daydreaming costs nothing. The price tag appears the moment you translate a wish into a plan into a habit, and a habit into a lifestyle. True desire is measured not by the size of your vision board, but by the weight of your daily commitments. It is etched into the calluses on your palms and reflected in the timestamps of the late-night sessions when no one is watching. It is hidden in the meals you skip because your focus is razor-sharp, in the parties you decline because your priorities are set, and in the comfort you surrender because mastery seldom sleeps in soft beds. If you can look at those sacrifices and still feel an unshakable yes rumble in your chest, you are close to the territory where miracles become inevitable. Most people never arrive there because comfort is fluent in persuasion. Comfort tells you that tomorrow will be a better day to start, that one missed session does not matter, and that settling for average will spare you embarrassment. But comfort is a polite thief. It steals in small, almost invisible moments. 5 minutes of extra scrolling, one excuse-laced afternoon, a single "I'll do it later" that quietly multiplies. Greatness, on the other hand, is rude. It barges in at 5 a.m. and drags you out of bed before your mind can invent justifications. It interrupts every pity party with the reminder that your goals do not care about your feelings. When you banish comfort and court discomfort, you prove to yourself and eventually to everyone else that want has matured into must. Consider a swimmer who stared at the impossible and refused to blink. In her late 20s, she set out to conquer the 110-mile stretch of open ocean between Cuba and Florida, a treacherous corridor of currents, sharks, and venomous jellyfish. The attempt fell short, and most people would have closed that chapter forever. But desire, once inflamed, seldom extinguishes quietly. Decades passed, and the world assumed the dream was buried beneath the sand of other priorities. Yet inside her, the question lingered, itching, growing louder. How badly do you want it? At 64, an age when society expects a person to lean back into comfort, she dove back into the same waters for a fifth attempt. 53 hours later, swollen and sun-scorched, she emerged on a Florida shore and declared, "Never ever give up." That sentence was less a victory speech than a confession of her inner compass. It proved that determination is not subject to the calendar, and that the impossible yields only to those who persist longer than logic says they should. Her journey offers more than a postcard of triumph. It is a lesson in the anatomy of relentless desire. Before the final swim, she spent years training her body and mind, rehearsing stroke after stroke, in frigid pools at dawn, studying currents and assembling a team that believed as fiercely as she did. She confronted jellyfish stings, respiratory distress, and brutal fatigue on earlier attempts. But each setback became a laboratory. She refined her equipment, adjusted her strategy, and toughened her resolve. When a storm tossed her at midnight and crew members begged her to consider safety, she saw it as a test rather than a signal to quit. Her body trembled, yet the question, often whispered, sometimes shouted, always resurfaced. How badly do you want it? That sentence became a compass pointing forward through waves and doubt alike. You too have an ocean to cross, Maybe it is a career pivot, a long-deferred degree, a book you have promised yourself for years, or a business idea scribbled on napkins and shelved behind fear. Whatever form your ocean takes, its currents are real: critics, finances, time, and skill gaps. Yet none of those factors can veto a dream that is upgraded from preference to necessity. When you get up one more time, then you fall. When you grow so convinced that quitting would be a form of self-betrayal, you begin to bend reality. Momentum follows the stubborn. Doors appear where walls once stood, all because you answered the question with courageous action rather than hollow words. Desire without discipline is fireworks, spectacular for a moment and then gone. Discipline, on the other hand, is the slow burn that lights the path on cloudy nights. It is the refusal to let mood dictate moves, the decision to do the hard thing, especially when no applause is in sight. It is creating a checklist the evening before and treating it like a sacred contract the next day. When your alarm erupts before sunrise, discipline is the silent hand that presses stop and lifts you upright, because the mission began the moment you opened your eyes. If you repeat that ritual long enough, results accumulate quietly. Suddenly, people call you lucky, gifted, or an overnight success, unaware that every night in that phrase contained 1,000 small choices stacked on top of one another. Failure will visit often, loudly, and with impeccable timing. It will show up on the day you felt unstoppable and remind you that progress is non-linear. But failure is not a verdict, it is data. Treat it like a coach who exposes weaknesses you pretended not to see. The swimmer who finally crossed her ocean used earlier defeats as blueprints for adjustments. She discovered which suit fabrics reduced chafing, which feeding schedules sustained energy, and which mental mantras drowned out fear in the black of night. Likewise, your stumbles reveal what needs upgrading: skills that demand honing, habits begging for consistency, or mindsets infected with doubt. Extract the lesson, fortify the plan, and resume the march. Quitting because you failed once is like burning down a house because one light bulb went out. Your environment must echo your ambitions. Surround yourself with people allergic to mediocrity, those who challenge you to rise rather than relax. Guard your mind from silent saboteurs disguised as harmless distractions. Endless notifications, binge-worthy shows, pointless arguments. Reserve mental real estate for thoughts that propel, not paralyze. Invest in books, mentors, and courses that stretch your capacity. Speak your vision aloud until it scares you slightly, because comfort with small talk breeds small outcomes. When self-doubt whispers, answer with evidence. Every rep, every draft, every late-night study session that testifies you are building the muscle for mastery. Purpose amplifies desire. When your quest fuels something larger than personal gain, lifting your family, inspiring your community, solving a painful problem, the edges of your persistence become diamond hard. You tap into reservoirs of energy inaccessible to the narcissist. The swimmer's victory was not merely about distance. It symbolized ageless audacity, the refusal to accept society's expiration dates. That higher stake magnetized a global audience and multiplied her inner fire. Identify the ripple effect of your dream. Write it down, visualize the faces it will bless, and revisit that picture on the days motivation feels thin. Service-anchored ambition is nearly indestructible. Picture steel plunged into a forge. First it glows, then it is hammered, bent, and tempered. Each strike looks destructive but actually strengthens. Your obstacle is that hammer. Every long night, every setback, and every ounce of sweat is shaping a resilience that comfort could never breed. So the next time frustration raises its voice, thank it for the opportunity to harden your resolve. Greet fatigue with the grin of one who understands that growth often masquerades as exhaustion. Remember that storms do not last, but people who endure them emerge with a power calm seas cannot grant. Return once more to the question, how bad do you want it? Not in the casual coffee shop sense of wanting, not in the "it would be nice" tone of polite conversation, but in the marrow-deep, tear-streaked, heart-pounding sense that writes your story long before the ink of accomplishment dries. Decide today that halfway is unacceptable, that comfort is a con, and that your signature on this planet will be bold. Then do the boring, gritty, glorious work. The schedule, the repetition, the lonely corridors where champions are forged. Embrace them all. Because when the breakthrough finally erupts into public view, you will know the applause is only an echo of an answer you gave in private. Yes, I want it that bad.